Hello, and welcome to Exposed News Outlet, where we shed light on topics that matter most. My name is Andrea, and I will be your host. Today, we're discussing Israel's settlers burning Palestine alive. Before we get into the video, if I could just ask if you could please subscribe to my podcast and channel if you haven't already. Select all so you get all of my notifications. Please like and share our video. It helps to get the message out to the masses. It really goes a long way. Thank you. Now, without further ado, let's get to the news. Israel's settlers are burning Palestine alive. Watch this clip.
On July 7th, residents of West Bank's last Christian majority town of Taibe filmed as armed Israeli settlers set ablaze around their most sacred site, the ruins of the 5th century Church of St. George. The footage, which was shared with the Telegraph, shows men approaching with leaf blowers, appearing to use them to fan the flames closer to the church. Another video that was shared with us shows the settlers, largely young men, watching on as locals desperately tried to put out the flames to protect the ancient archaeological site. Witnesses who were there told us that they returned again in the evening and then on July 8th and July 11th to light more fires around the church. Other footage shows locals being forced to watch as settlers armed with guns set fire to olive trees, the lifeblood of the local economy which relies on olive oil production. Taibe, which is northeast of Ramallah, felt tense on arrival. The church leaders, farmers and other local residents we spoke to spoke of how dramatically the violence and intimidation had increased in recent months, and how new settler outposts were popping up all around, and how their land was being burnt or claimed, and how they were powerless to stop it. Outside of the town, we also met with the Cabernet family that has for several years now been targeted by settlers. On June 25th, the family recounted how they were praying when dozens of settlers broke into their home. CCTV footage shared with the Telegraph shows masked attackers setting fire to their cars and then trying to burn their homes. When we visited, we saw the remnants of this attack, with scorched windows and the Star of David graffitied on their wall and the ruins of cars. Settler attacks on Palestinians are on the rise across the whole occupied West Bank. There were more than 750 incidents of settler violence against Palestinians in the first half of this year. But for the traumatized residents of Taibe, they're fearful of what is yet to come. Father Bashir, the local priest, told us that this was just the beginning. It was a message that if they attack our sacred site, they can attack anything of ours.
This is ethnic cleansing, not self-defense. These are all the horrors and atrocities that are taking place. And that's right. They are burning olive trees, not by accident, not during war, but intentionally to erase Palestinians from their land, to ruin their crops and not only their food, but their resources and funds to survive. This is happening right now in the occupied West Bank. And if this doesn't stop, there'll be nothing left to return to. And that's the point. Watch this clip.
Israel's cabinet voted to extend legal status to 19 previously illegal settlements late last night, formalizing more control of land in the West Bank. Attacks by Jewish settlers against Palestinian communities there have increased sharply since the October 7th Hamas attacks in Israel. As Layla Milana Allen reports, the settlers' violence continues with few apparent consequences. A warning, some images in this report are disturbing.
Masked gangs of settlers marauding through the streets, armed with bats and Molotov cocktails. Cars and homes smashed apart and set on fire. This is now the daily reality for Palestinians across the occupied West Bank. As the violence spreads, no one is safe. A centuries-old olive grove in ruins, flames licking at the stones of a 5th century church.
They attacked us, moved their sheep into the churchyard, and they even tried to burn the church. There's no difference between how the settlers treat Muslims or Christians.
Taibe is one of the oldest continuously settled Christian communities in the world. It appears in both the Old and New Testaments.
Everything began in this land.
Usually at this time of year, the valley would be full of olive pickers. Now, locals are too afraid to venture onto their own land. The trees are dying, their fruit rotting on the branch. Across the valley, the hills are dominated by settlements. Even as we stand here, we can see a car from a local settlement patrolling the groves. Fleeing the relentless attacks, Christian residents have started to emigrate to the United States in droves. The village has lost 24 families already.
How is this for you personally, the responsibility?
Huge and over my capacity. But I have to be standing always and to raise my head up. Because I'm Palestinian, I'm a Christian, I'm a priest.
They've done what they can to replant the burned trees, but an olive tree takes nearly a decade to reach maturity. The villagers' livelihoods are being destroyed. Suleiman says when the army does turn up, it's invariably to side with the settlers.
The army and the settlers are one. They both act the same way towards people, attacking them and kicking them out of their land.
As we're speaking, Suleiman gets a call. There are settlers on his land. He's too afraid to confront them. Waiting on the road is Rabbi Arik Asherman, one of a group of volunteers trying to pressure Israeli authorities to force settlers to abide by the law. The settlers make their way into the valley, stopping next to the home of a Palestinian man and his child, picking olives in their garden. The makeshift fence they've erected won't do much to protect them. He worries the international community, discussing a theoretical Palestinian state from afar, is ignoring the practical reality that soon Palestinians here will have little land left.
The international community has no backbone.
The army's told them to leave, and they're paying no attention.
For years and years and years, they've been acting with impunity, and certainly under this government. Everything that they know says to them, we can do what we want, and we're not going to pay any price for it. There's going to be no consequences.
The settlers stay till sunset. As is almost always the case, they're not threatened with arrest or physically forced to leave. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has promised to curb the unprecedented wave of attacks.
We will act against this with all our might because we are a state of law.
But critics say it's his own government that's created this atmosphere of impunity. National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir handed out weapons to settlers after the October 7th attacks. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich has advocated destroying large Palestinian towns to isolate Palestinians. And this government has sanctioned the building of dozens of new settlements, which are illegal under international law.
It's peak olive picking season in the West Bank, and Palestinian farmers are out harvesting their groves. In Turmos Aya, on the first day of the season, dozens of settlers, armed with clubs, their faces hidden with black rags, descended on this grove.
53-year-old grandmother Afaf Aboualia was chased and bludgeoned by a masked settler. She was so badly beaten, she suffered bleeding on the brain and had to be rushed to hospital. The UN says October was the most violent month on record since documentation of settler attacks began. More than 260 attacks were recorded, an average of 8 per day. After international outrage, Israeli authorities say they've now arrested a man in connection with the attack, but locals here say there's little chance he'll face justice. We found Afaf in hospital in Ramallah, where she told us about her traumatic assault.
They beat me here, on my shoulder, back, and my arms. They beat me over the head nearly 10 times, and then they beat the rest of my body. It's really painful. Now I can't go back to collect olives because of my brain injury.
But some victims never make it home. In July, as 20-year-old Saifallah Musalet tended his father's olives, a group of settlers armed with bats surrounded him. His family heard he'd been taken to hospital. What they found there was unimaginable.
Thinking that we're going to go see him like he's hurt, he's injured, but just seeing him there is really hard.
And what did they tell you at the hospital?
They told us he was beaten to death.
The family believes Saifallah, nicknamed Saif, might have been saved, but it took nearly 3 hours for a Palestinian ambulance to get permission to cross into the area to help him. He bled to death alone.
He was like an older son to me. He was very loving. He was very loving. You'd go into a room, he'll always smiling. Very full of life, very.
Saif was an American citizen, a Florida native visiting family in the West Bank. US Ambassador Mike Huckabee visited them after his killing, calling it a terrorist act and promising to take action. They've heard nothing since.
He said, we will get justice, America's first, but till this day, nothing has changed.
Meanwhile, the violence shows no sign of stopping.
Or there are settlers on the way. We need to be
like
sure.
This morning, they were out here, they said.
Yeah. So you always have to be sure.
Every Friday, they cross from here. They're like hunting for us. They're just driving. If they see any Palestinian person, that's it. They're going to attack. And we can't do anything about it.
Some are trying. Jonathan Pollock is an Israeli activist who spent 2 decades working to protect Palestinian villagers from settler and soldier violence. He tried to stop the violence the day Saif was killed and found himself the target.
I felt that we were at the edge of death when they attacked us. There was nothing to stop them. But at some point, Israeli soldiers came in and they literally peeled the settlers from on top of us. Of course, they did nothing. They arrested us.
He didn't know until his release from jail that the group, having assaulted him, then reached Saif in his olive grove.
Racist lynch mob killed a Palestinian, beating him to death. People like to say that it's complicated, but really there's absolutely nothing complicated about a bunch of people going into other people's land, attacking them, killing them, imprisoning them, and stealing their land.
Saif is just one of at least 21 Palestinians killed by settler violence since October 7th, 2023. The UN reports more than 1,000 Palestinians have been injured in attacks this year, more than double the number injured last year. Their homes burned, their fields and olive groves destroyed. 7 settlers have been killed and 53 injured by Palestinians this year. Yesh Din, an Israeli NGO working to protect the rights of Palestinians living under Israeli occupation, reports that of 1,700 police investigations into Israeli violence against Palestinians in the West Bank in the past 20 years, 97% did not lead to a conviction. Perpetrators of hundreds of other attacks this year remain at large. And Jonathan says the impunity for Saif's killing is the rule here rather than the exception. Last year, he watched another American, volunteer Aisha Noregi, die next to him after she was shot by an Israeli soldier during a protest in the nearby village of Beita. It was her first day in the West Bank. The IDF said Aisha Noor was killed unintentionally during what it called a violent riot. Jonathan and his fellow activists say the situation was calm.
You can see the soldiers up there by the black smoke. They're pointing guns at us. You don't know when they're going to pull the triggers.
Jonathan believes that because the US supplies more than 2/3 of Israel's weapons, it is complicit in the death of its own citizen.
The bullet that killed Aisha Noor is an American bullet, and it is the bullet placed by the American government at the hand of Israel to suppress any Palestinian aspiration for liberation and self-determination. And it is also used to send a message that it doesn't matter who you are. If you stand with Palestinian, your blood is cheap, and there will be no accountability.
Reem says her family's experience has taught her that even as Americans, they have no protection here, so Palestinians have little chance.
We lost Saif, we can't get him back, but we need justice like every other place in the world. You commit a crime, you kill, you're behind bars. Like, why is this the only country that they don't do that? They murder, next day they're out in the streets.
Reem now wakes each morning wondering when the next attack will come, whether her kids will return home safely from school. All she can do is wait in fear.
Set the context. Israeli settlers backed by the Israeli military and protected by the Netanyahu government regime are attacking Palestinian communities, beating farmers, torching homes, and setting fire to centuries-old olive groves. Olive trees are not just crops. They are generational lifelines. Some of these trees are older than the state of Israel itself. What's actually happening? This is not random violence. This is a strategy. Burn the fields, destroy the harvest, make the land unusable, force the people to leave. That's called forced displacement, and under international law, it's a war crime. Why this is illegal and inhumane? The West Bank is internationally recognized as occupied territory. Settlements are illegal. Settler violence is illegal. Collective punishment is illegal. Yet settlers act with total impunity because the Netanyahu regime enables it, protects it, and in many cases encourages it. Netanyahu cannot be trusted. Benjamin Netanyahu leads the most extreme right-wing government in Israel's history, openly aligned with the settler movements that want Palestinians erased from the land entirely. Watch this clip.
I want to search his father. No, I go to his father. I want to search his father. Hey, go away. Hey, go away. Let's take a shit. It's not right wrong. It's not right.
He has failed to stop the violence, failed to prosecute attackers, failed to protect civilians. A leader who enables ethnic cleansing is not a legitimate leader. Netanyahu needs to resign or be removed. And frankly, I think it's sad that the Trump administration threatened sanctions, as did, I believe, the UK or some, if Netanyahu were to be tried at the Hague for the war crimes that he's committed, which he should be, frankly. The U.S. complicity Trump administration. And let's be clear, the Trump administration cannot be trusted on this either. Trump reversed a long-standing U.S. policy and legitimized illegal settlements. He shielded Netanyahu from accountability. He cut humanitarian aid while Palestinians were being displaced. When the U.S. bankrolls occupation and shields war crimes, it becomes complicit. Let me show you this clip.
Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land, developing and creating thousands of jobs with something that will be magnificent in a really magnificent area. We have an opportunity to do something that could be phenomenal. And I don't want to be cute, I don't want to be a wise guy, but the Riviera of the Middle East, this could be something that could be so this could be so magnificent.
Article 2, Section 4, Accountability. Under Article 2, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution, presidents can be removed for abuse of power and violations of law. Supporting ethnic cleansing, enabling war crimes, and bypassing congressional oversight are not policy differences. They are constitutional violations. Environmental destruction. This isn't just genocide against people. It's an ecocide. Burning olive trees destroys ecosystems, wildlife, habitats, soil sustainability, and food security. This is the destruction of the earth itself for land theft. Closing moral call. This is not self-defense. This is not a conflict. This is systemic ethnic cleansing, genocide. Free Palestine. End the occupation. Stop burning the land. and stop killing the future. Silence is complicity, and history is watching. Thank you for watching till the end, and hopefully you learned something from this video. If you could please subscribe if you haven't already. Be sure to check all for notifications so you get all my latest notifications and updates. And if you could please like the video and share it on your platforms to get the message out to the masses. It's important that people know the truth. Thank you for watching Exposed News Outlet, where we shed light on topics that matter most. And as always, please be kind to yourselves and be kind to others. Thank you.